What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Ango show. I know it's been a little bit of time since I've been doing some live streams, but I thought tonight would be the perfect time to talk a little bit about what we saw on WWE NXT. And yeah, very fun episode and definitely some stuff to talk about. If you guys could just do me a favor and click thumbs up on the stream, I would greatly appreciate it. Excuse me. Should probably drink some water. If you guys want me to read your questions or comments, guaranteed, if you guys drop a super chat or become a member, you could become a member starting at $1.99 a month. Entirely up to you guys. You definitely don't have to do that, but I figured I would bring it up anyways. Man, a lot of TNA tonight, which is something I'm incredibly happy about. Truth be told, the idea of this TNA WWE partnership is exciting to me. And tonight we got a very good glimpse of something that WWE is teasing. And for WWE to tease something that is set to happen on TNA television, it's a very unique and a very cool thing to see. And I want to highlight that, right? Because I feel like we have kind of been at the point where WWE working with other companies it's not something that we typically see, right? So this idea that WWE is working with TNA, I just absolutely love it. It's exciting to me. We got a lot of love for TNA tonight. And honestly, I'm just like really happy about that. Like I'm very, very happy about that. So hopefully you guys are all having a great night. Like I said, this won't be too long, but I figured we can go live and talk a little bit about it. And it really stems from one big thing that I've noticed a lot about NXT. And I want to talk about this because I don't feel like I give NXT a lot of credit for this. But the credit should be given to NXT for how much they fit into a television show. It's a 2-hour show. And it's very well paced. But the reality is that even with it being well paced, how can you get as much content on the show as possible while trying to allow storylines to breathe? And there was a lot of that tonight. There was a lot of that tonight. NXT Battleground is Sunday. I felt like they did a fantastic job of making the women's matches feel important, especially the North American Women's Championship, which we will talk about that. But let's give WWE NXT their flowers. The fact that this company, for a 2-hour show, well paced, fitting in a lot of storylines, fitting in many people on the roster, getting them on the screen, giving people the chance to show their personalities. Man, it's incredibly awesome for somebody like me who watches wrestling the way that I do. That's kind of my point to this. NXT starts off with Jordynne Grace versus Stevie Turner. Jordynne Grace at this point, I mean, look, I've said it so many times. She is a star. But she fits in the WWE, man. And the fact that she's out there representing TNA just makes me so incredibly happy. I think we have come to a point where NXT is the perfect balance. It's the perfect balance between wrestling and, of course, the over-the-top characters and storytelling. When I see Jordynne Grace be introduced as the TNA Knockouts champion, and I see her kicking ass, I get excited because it feels like it's natural. It doesn't feel like and I understand maybe some people won't agree with this, but I feel like it's happening organically. And I hate to compare this to AEW and New Japan, but obviously, in order for me to make sense of this, I feel like I have to. The reality is that WWE NXT having Jordynne Grace on TV with Stevie Turner, allowing Stevie Turner to get a couple moves, it wasn't just a complete squash, but WWE and TNA, it just feels natural. Whereas sometimes I think when you see a New Japan talent in AEW, it seems like they're forcing it to make sense of the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. But it's not like WWE and the Forbidden Door or Worlds Collide. It's not like some pay-per-view is happening, right? They haven't announced that. So when I see Jordynne Grace on TV, to me, it just seems like a normal partnership. I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that this doesn't seem like it's being forced down our throat. Even when Jordynne Grace was having the match, it didn't seem like WWE was trying to put over Stevie Turner, right? Like they use this as an opportunity for Stevie Turner to take the pinfall loss, but at the same time, too, allowing her to make the opposition look strong. Whereas I think in AEW, sometimes it becomes so forced where you see an NJPW talent and an AEW talent just go back and forth for 15, 20, 30 minutes or whatever it may be, and then somebody takes the loss. And it almost seems like that's just a little bit more forced. So when I was watching this, it just seemed a little bit more organic to me. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And I don't know if to me it's a good thing or a bad thing with the way WWE is doing it, but I do think that this is coming across as very enjoyable to watch. Like my face kind of lights up a little bit when I see Jordynne Grace on television. And I see her being introduced and I see her coming out to the ring and I see the Orlando audience just being really receptive to her. It just seems like at any moment in time now, if WWE wants to have more TNA people on their show, it will just happen organically where it makes the most sense. And there is actually an example of this later on in the show where I definitely thought somebody was coming out and it would have worked out really good in WWE's favor. And I'll get to that in just a second. But Jordynne Grace does beat Stevie Turner. I thought this is exactly what it was supposed to be. What was really cool to me is this video package that they have with Jordynne Grace as well, showcasing the Royal Rumble footage, showcasing her NXT footage. They got some promo shots in there. It just seems like WWE is making her look really good. And I appreciate that because technically speaking, they don't have to. Obviously they should, and it would be foolish if they didn't, but my point remains. With that being said, though, we did get a super chat. So let's read it. RM drops a $2 super chat. You think Noam is legit hurt and Ethan took his place? No, I don't think so. I think WWE always had it in the plans for Ethan Page to debut at this pay-per-view. Well, for this pay-per-view. I genuinely loved this contract signing, and we will talk about it. I mean, look, there is an injury bug that is happening in wrestling. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that that's not possible. He's legit hurt. But I think it's a work to make room for this. But you never know. You absolutely never know in today's day and age. So that is something I do want to point out. RM, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Some really cool stuff that I liked about NXT. So they made Jordynne Grace feel important. They made her feel special. It seems organic. It doesn't seem like they're forcing anything. I appreciate that. I also love the fact that Ethan Page got the red carpet treatment. They really played into the fact that Ethan Page is a free agent. I genuinely appreciated that because if you guys saw Ethan Page in the beginning of the show, he pulled up to the venue. He sees Ava and Robert Stone, Robbie E, talking about his contract, right? He's negotiating with Ava in regards to his contract. And it's actually becoming a theme throughout the night where one of the stipulations that he has in order to sign with NXT is that he doesn't do it in her office, but he does it in front of everybody on TV. Ava is not receptive to this. I like that it was a common trend. So I really did appreciate that. I really, really did. And we'll keep talking a little bit more about Ethan Page in just a little bit. What was actually really cool too, there was another moment where later on in the show, Stevie Turner had actually walked up to Ava and asked for another opportunity for the following week. This was something I actually enjoyed as well because she utilized a quick few seconds of saying like, look, she had her match against Jordynne. She wants an opportunity next week. And Ava, as a general manager, actually shrugs this off. Um, Dude, I like that. I like that. She's general manager. She's got a lot of stuff happening tonight. There was a lot of chaos on NXT tonight. She can't be bothered by a talent asking for an opportunity. I don't know what that leads to. Maybe it could lead to Stevie Turner turning heel, getting a new character. Maybe it could lead to her having a match next week because they also did do a video package for Wendy Chu. Wendy Chu was given a video package tonight, and in this video package, she wakes up out of bed, goes into the bathroom to wash her face or whatever, and she looks up and she's got some eye makeup, which was actually really crazy that they decided to go that route because I don't know if you guys remember when she had her previous character before Wendy Chu, but I think it was Tan Sha or Tian Sha. I can't remember how it was pronounced, honestly. But it was during the Black and Gold era, before she became Wendy Chu, before NXT 2.0. She was a very dark, cryptic character, and she was still in her pajamas, but she had that a little bit of a resemblance towards that. So Wendy Chu is being teased for next week. It's been revealed that she'll be back next week. She's got the face paint going. I don't know what the hell they're going to be doing, but I absolutely love the dark, cryptic characters. I hope that maybe they're doing a split personality thing with her. I don't know. But my point that I'm making is that there's a lot of chaos, a lot of things happening in NXT. When Stevie Turner goes and asks Ava for another opportunity, she basically rolls her eyes and just keeps going. Again, it's a personality trait for a GM, and I do think I should mention this because obviously I'm a big fan of the general manager idea. I talked about this on more Ango as well, but I do love the fact that Ava fits in really good as a GM. It's natural, like she might not have the best promo. She might not be the most convincing general manager. And that's literally 1000% the reason why I like her in that position. She has these mannerisms and these tendencies that actually feel human. And as more time goes on, like she'll even get better. But I just feel like it's a really cool way, hey, Stevie Turner lost and they're utilizing the full 2 hours by having her on TV again. It's just something I appreciate. I feel like NXT and WWE have been really good at utilizing every second that counts on television. So I want to give them props for that. We get this summit for the Women's North American Championship. All 6 women, Lash Legend, Fallon Henley, Sol Ruka, Jada Parker, Kalani, and Mia Yim with Booker T. They're setting up their match for Sunday for the Women's North American Championship. I don't have too much to say about this summit, but I loved it. I don't know why, but I just feel like these 6 women, like literally any single one of them could win the North American Championship. And honestly, I'd probably be really happy with it. Jada Parker, though, really stole the show here. She's great on the mic. She clapped back at Mia Yim, and I just thought that was really dope the way she did it. And it's just something I appreciate, man. When I look at NXT and I see these women, some of them don't have a lot of experience, and they come out there, they put on a show. It's just something that I think like the overall vibe, it just comes across so much better. And this was a great thing because these women decide to start brawling. And obviously, whenever you do a championship summit or a contract signing, it's pro wrestling. There's always got to be something, right? I enjoy the fact that they start brawling. Robert Stone, Mr. Stone, I don't know what the hell they're calling him at this point. Robbie E, he comes out and he says, hey, I just spoke to Ava and she's given me permission to let you guys know that there's going to be a 6-woman tag match later on. That's cool, in my opinion, because first of all, you want to highlight these women before they have their match Sunday. That's a big thing. But it's also important because this is the new championship belt that's being introduced. I want to take a second to talk about Robbie Stone, Mr. Stone, Robbie E. I like him a lot. And obviously he's been doing stuff on NXT with Dante Chen. But today I kind of saw him more as like an authority figure assistant to Ava. And I don't know if there's any clarification on that. I know it's kind of been brought up on social media, but he was kind of by Ava's side throughout the night, especially from when Ethan Page walked in and stuff like that. So I don't know what that's going to lead to, if it will lead to anything, but I did appreciate that. At least from the perspective that, you know, he's no longer there with Von Wagner. What's the plan? What are they doing? How are they going to go about it in the future? I don't know. It's something to pay attention to. Really, really cool stuff here in terms of this summit. It's something I did want to point out too. Lash Legend broke up with Trick Williams later on in the night. So I don't know. I don't know what that whole thing is all about. Trick Williams took it on the chin. That was a common joke that I saw on Twitter. But also it was kind of funny because in the same token, we're talking about the women. The women tonight on NXT have just been given the ball to run with. And I genuinely say this like with all my heart, because I feel like I've been saying this a lot for NXT, but Raw, SmackDown, AEW, like these other shows can learn from the way NXT gets women involved. Even if it doesn't require a championship belt, I just love the fact how they're factored in, because they're all factored in a way that is like actually logical. So that is something I did want to point out. I think it's also really, really dope that like Jordynne Grace even at one point has a backstage segment, and I can't remember everybody who pulled up on her, but it was like Mia Yim, Sol Ruka, and Tatum Paxley. I might be missing someone. Oh, and Ariana Grace. So Ariana Grace pulls up on Jordynne Grace, and she makes a little funny joke about them having the same last name but not being related. Kind of turns into this thing where like Mia Yim and Jordynne Grace are kind of like reflecting back on their times back in TNA, and now they're both there, NXT, TNA type of thing. I don't know. I really like the segment, but then what was really interesting was Tatum Paxley was staring at Jordynne Grace's belt, the TNA Women's Championship. We know that Jordynne Grace does have an open challenge for Against All Odds. I think WWE is sending her out to TNA, and I want to talk about that in a whole other video, because quite honestly, like there's a lot of teases and hints there. And I just love the fact that TNA was like really propped up in this moment, but Jordynne Grace was as well. But it's another thing. It's a 2-hour show, and all these women who are involved, you know, it's like crossing two different storylines, right? Because Jordynne Grace is in a feud with Roxanne Perez, and then you have these women who are competing for the Women's North American Championship also engaging with her. But then they also do this thing where Tatum Paxley comes out of nowhere and she's giving off the stalker vibes. I think she's going for the TNA Knockouts Championship, and I think that would be really cool. It's a nice little thing that they can do. But at the same time, it's really important that WWE understands that when you have 2 hours of a TV show, you can do a lot. Okay, it might be storming right now. What the hell is that? Okay, yeah, it's starting to storm. I knew I was hearing something. I'm like, what the hell? But it's important that like for the 2 hours that they have on TV, that they're pushing forward their stories. It was also really important that if you're going to do a partnership with TNA, you got to benefit TNA in some aspect. And they're using a little bit of that TV time to help push a story that could further into TNA's television show. That was something that was really cool to me. It just really was cool to me. So I did want to point that out. We got Thea Hale versus Jasmine Nix. Jasmine Nix is a little bit green, but she ends up beating Thea Hale with a Pele kick. I don't have too much to say about this. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like, and it's a preference thing. It's definitely a preference thing. But I'm not really sure how I feel about this Ridge Holland and Chase University. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. It seems very strange to me. Maybe I'm just personally not gelling with it. I don't know. It's not like illogical or like anything like that. I just don't know if it's really my cup of tea. But Jasmine Nix, she ends up beating Thea Hale. It's her first singles win on NXT television. And like I said, she's a little bit green, but I did like the idea of her getting that win. There was a couple things that she did in the match where I was actually pretty impressed. And there was a couple moments where maybe there was some miscommunication or something like that. I don't care about that. You know, NXT is developmental. These people are learning. They're getting experience. They might have butterflies. But I'm really impressed with Thea Hale. She's awesome. I again, this is NXT at this point. Like, all the women have been involved here. A 2-hour show, and like, they're not wasting time. They're letting the women go out there. They're a very big part of the show, maybe even bigger than the men in this regard. But I did appreciate the fact that they throw them out there, man. Jasmine Nix is somebody who's a little bit green, but she had a couple cool moments. And then when you look at it from that perspective, like, the only way she's going to improve is by going out there and getting that opportunity to show what she could do and how to improve. So I was really, really impressed with that. I did want to read a couple super chats because there's definitely a lot more to talk about. So let's get to these really quick. RM dropped another $2 super chat. Does Ethan lose clean or does Trick lose the belt? This is a very good question. I will be doing a prediction stream for Battleground, so you'll have to wait for that. But I do think they have a trick up their sleeve here, and that's not a pun intended, by the way. But I do think there is a trick up their sleeve here because you got to be very careful how you book this match. I also don't think this is going to main event NXT Battleground. I think if you're NXT, you let the night end with Jordynne Grace versus Roxanne Perez. I think you definitely do that. I do genuinely believe that at NXT Battleground there will be surprises. So, does Ethan lose clean? Probably not. Does Trick lose the belt? Probably not. This is going to have a little bit of a weird and creative finish, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you, RM. Allison Tuckwab dropping a $9.99 super chat. Did Tony Khan take over on WWE's 3-hour showtime? Look, Tony Khan, I don't know what Tony Khan is up to. I did put out a tweet earlier, though. I did say, man, how did Tony Khan not give Ethan Page the ball? The silly responses was too stacked of a roster. It happens. Tony's too much obsessed with the ones and with his new toys. I don't know. Very, very interesting. As far as Tony Khan and the 3-hour, I don't know exactly what you mean by this, Allison, but I will say this: Tony Khan could learn a lot from NXT booking. He has a far greater roster in AEW than NXT has. And the fact that AEW does not book the way that NXT book, I'm not saying to copy NXT in terms of like booking and stuff, but the way that NXT paces their show and gets multiple stories and multiple moments and just so much happening, and they let things breathe every single week. It's very impressive. There's a lot that Tony Khan could learn from Shawn Michaels. So yeah, I don't know if he was watching, but I hope he does learn. With the roster that he has, he can do a lot of great things. Justin Kennington, member for 21 months. It is crazy to see Ethan Page in WWE, and he has already booked better in WWE than AEW. And Justin, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Thank you all so much for the super chat so far. Guys, if you haven't done so, please drop a like on the stream. And if you guys want to support the show, you could drop a super chat. You don't have to. But if you guys could kick that like button, super kick that like button, fucking camel clutch that like button, I don't know, spear the like button, whatever you got to do. It's definitely appreciated. Let's keep it going. Yeah, there was a whole thing where like Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows were supposed to be there. They attacked Axiom and Nathan Frazier at the merch stand. It's fine. I mean, it is what it is, but we'll see what happens. They weren't on the show tonight because of that. Something I really did love, Sean Spears backstage kind of ruffle some feathers with Josh Briggs. Basically, it leads to Josh Briggs making his entrance. Sean Spears takes him out, and Javon Evans comes out for the save. This was incredible, man. Incredible. Very, very cool what they've done here. Javon Evans does this cutter, tope suicida. I mean, like the stuff that he's doing, the cutter that he does is absolutely insane. But just like a really cool thing to watch Javon Evans, aka Jay Malachi, right? Jay Malachi from Deadlock Pro Wrestling, coming to NXT and just like being there, makes a save for Josh Briggs, Sean Spears. I love this. I don't know how to explain it. It's just another great mid-card feud storyline that they're telling. I want to see more progression out of this. Javon Evans is one of the rookies that, man, like you put him in the North American Championship picture, you will definitely have people excited. So I definitely did appreciate that. Just really cool. Heritage Cup, Tony D'Angelo, Damon Kemp, really cool booking. Really cool booking. I'm personally not a fan of this storyline. The Heritage Cup historically has been really cool to watch. I just feel like Tony D'Angelo and everyone else could kind of be doing something else, if that makes sense. Not bad. I really did like the finish of the match though, because I think it was like the second or third round. Damon Kemp almost gets the pinfall, but time runs out. Then the next round starts, and then basically, I don't know what they call the move, but Tony D'Angelo hits him, wins, and yeah, he retains. So keep in mind, there is a lot of stuff that happened, and this is all within a 2-hour show, and there's still more. Natalya ends up beating Izzy Dame, another women's match. Carmen Petrovic was supposed to be on the show, but she's injured. She was on a crutch. She got hurt this past weekend at the live events. Natalya comes in. She just won a very fast-paced match. Izzy Dame is somebody who's got potential. Definitely interested in seeing kind of what happens with her in WWE. Again, another crop of talent where there's just tons of new people and a lot of potential. And you know, she doesn't need the win right away, so I'm not mad about that. What was funny is yesterday on Raw, Natalya did the whole thing where it was like, oh, it's like time for change, you know? She did the same thing tonight, after she won her match. So clearly they got something cooking with Natalya. I don't know what it's going to be. It might be a slow burn. Natalya in NXT gets a reaction. Natalya on the main roster doesn't get the same reaction. I wouldn't be opposed to Natalya being in NXT. I would never be opposed to Natalya going to TNA for a little bit while working with WWE. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff they can do, man. I hope WWE and TNA could get that partnership going to the point where Natalya can maybe win the TNA Knockouts Championship or something. I would love to see her in the North American Championship picture as well. Who knows, right? Who knows what that's going to lead to? Literally anything and everything is on the table because of the partnership. So I am definitely intrigued by it. What else did we get? Oh, we had Gallus. Gallus came out. Obafemi, Gallus. There's supposed to be a tag team match, right? And it's supposed to be Tyreek and Tyson. So Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont. I love those guys. They're great. I think there's a lot of cool stuff that they can do. So we find out there's supposed to be an impromptu match, but instead Gallus takes him out during the commercial break. The match doesn't start. Gallus does a promo. I personally am a big fan of Gallus. I would love to see them on the main roster with Drew McIntyre. What I love about this, though, is Wesley comes out through the crowd cutting a promo on them. Obafemi, Gallus, Wesley, they start to feud. Now, if there was ever a time where a TNA partnership would have been really cool, walking through the forbidden door, it would be the Rascals. The Rascals reuniting, right? Zachary Wentz, Trey Miguel, and Wesley. As a TNA fan, I just can't help but think like, man, that would be really cool to see them come to Wesley's aid. I don't know. Very, very strong feeling that Joe Coffey, Obafemi, and Wesley are going to have an absolute banger at NXT Battleground. But I did like this. I understand not everybody likes Gallus, but I really do. I feel like they got a very interesting look. They're a very interesting group. They've been doing cool shit ever since NXT UK. I could see a lot of cool things coming from this. So definitely want to point that out. We'll see how it happens. Obviously, I don't know what's going to come from it. Don't forget, we also got Dante Chen attacking Lexis King during his interview backstage. Norman Smiley and all of these other people, breaking them up. There's a challenge for them to wrestle. I'm assuming it's going to happen on the kickoff show. I think it's going to happen on the kickoff show for NXT Battleground, but we'll see. Dante Chen, man, I like this kid. I like this kid a lot. And it's weird because there was at one point, it just seemed like they were going to do something with Dante Chen and Boa. And now Boa is obviously no longer with WWE. But there's something about Dante Chen. I don't know what it is, but this is like they're really starting to utilize him now. Maybe a feud with Lexis King could be the thing that takes him to the next level. I don't know. But I'm super excited about it. Super geeked to see how they go about it. Just overall in general, like it wasn't even that long of a segment. It was a backstage thing. But again, Lexis King, Dante Chen not wrestling on a 2-hour long show. And this is another way for NXT to get them on. I appreciate it. The little things matter. Definitely matter. We have Lash Legend, Fallon Henley, and Kalani Jordynne versus Sol Ruka, Michin, and Jada Parker. I love this. All the women doing some really cool shit. The fans love Sol Ruka. I feel like everybody here is great. Ruka, Michin, and Parker defeat Legend, Henley, and Jordynne. Crazy enough, though, Sol Ruka hits the Soul Snatcher. Absolutely incredible when she does it. I think she's like great. I don't know. That move is so good. She's amazing. Because she stood tall, I don't think she's going to win the North American Women's Championship, but we will see what happens. I don't know who's going to come out. Also, Jasmine Nix came back out during this match, and she came out with JC Jane. JC Jane is the undashing JC Jane. She's got a face mask. She was legitimately injured. And again, this is just another highlight of women being put absolutely all over the show. The women really owned tonight's episode. So just really cool to see that, because it's not like they're forcing it. It's just organically happening. And I feel like Shawn Michaels really needs to get his flowers for that. When something happens on TV and it doesn't seem forced and it just seems organic, I love it. I love it. Ethan Page signs his contract. He refused to sign it anywhere other than in front of the fans. Ava was refusing to sign it because she didn't feel like Ethan Page should be given a championship match, and that was part of his negotiations. Trick Williams comes out. I love this segment, and I know people don't like when I have to say this, but Tony Khan dropped the ball with Ethan Page, and anybody who is blaming Tony Khan having a stacked roster, I mean, it's just like some bullshit. It's bullshit, because Tony Khan had a stacked roster, but he didn't have a stacked roster when Ethan Page came in with the guy from American Top Team, Dan Lambert, So that's some bullshit in my opinion, because I feel like with Ethan Page, give me 1 second, guys. I think with Ethan Page, man, he's talented, but when I would see him in AEW, and it's just like, we knew he was talented. We knew he was talented when he was in TNA. We saw him being talented in AEW. And it just, I don't know, like the way that WWE has kind of put him out there. And for those who would complain like, oh, he gets to jump the line. Well, he's a free agent. and it's part of his negotiations, right? Obviously, he's not really a free agent, but in kayfabe, he's a free agent. He didn't come out even with a theme song because he's not signed to NXT. The contract signing was for him to sign with NXT. Ava being apprehensive about it makes a lot of sense because she's a general manager. Again, it's those tendencies that I just definitely appreciate. I just thought this was a really good segment, man. I thought it was a really good segment. And I appreciate WWE putting Ethan Page in that position. Now, I am slightly worried about how they're going to book this because maybe it's too soon for Trick Williams to drop the belt. But also, I think it's foolish to keep Trick Williams in NXT much longer. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's very foolish to leave him in NXT. I think Trick Williams should be on the main roster. And I see a guy like Ethan Page. Come into NXT right away and feels like a big deal. Like, man, maybe it's time to change things a little bit. You know, maybe it's time to give a little bit of a change and let Trick go into the main roster. Let him feud with Carmelo if you want. I don't know, but let Trick do his thing moving on from NXT. Allow Ethan Page to be the heel that runs NXT and now use that opportunity to create some more baby faces. That's just the way I see it. Justin Kennington dropping a $2 super chat. Where is Gigi Dolan? That's a good question. Let me Google it. Where is Gigi Dolan? I don't know, guys. I don't know what she's up to. We seen her not that long ago, obviously doing the stuff with Ariana Grace. But look, man, it's hard to complain about that because if you look at the entire show, it's the women are all over it. They're all over it. They're all over the show. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they're like, I don't want to ever speculate on somebody's health or anything like that or personal life. I don't know. Maybe she was injured or something, or maybe she's just simply not being used. I don't know. It's a good question. So that's kind of, it's kind of the downfall. But I see Ethan Page in NXT. I get excited about Ricky Starks. I get excited about maybe Wardlow coming to WWE. I get excited about people coming to WWE because I just think WWE is better at handling talent. Not everybody, of course, but I feel like for the most part, they've done a really good job with bringing in talent. And I look at, and it kind of goes back to the Gigi Dolan thing. Like, Gigi Dolan's been there for a while. Let's be real. What has she done since Toxic Attraction? Not much, and that's a little bit of a criticism to WWE. JC Jane and Gigi Dolan broke up and nothing really happened for either of them to really take off. They might have been around, but they haven't really been doing anything. So my point to that is, without Mandy Rose, without Gigi Dolan, without JC Jane, Gigi and JC Jane are kind of like in this mid-card limbo if they are ever on TV. But then I see somebody like Ethan Page come into the company and it's like, man, they shoot him up straight ahead. And like, if it sounds like I'm off track, I'm really not. What I'm really trying to say is that sometimes people are just put in a better position based on the division's needs. And right now, the NXT women's division doesn't really have a need. That division is absolutely amazing. And I don't know if WWE will get to the point where they do this, man, but I would really love for WWE, honest to God, I would really love for WWE to get to the point where JC and Gigi reunite and go to the main roster. A little bit of breaking news as well. Ethan Page got attacked by Oro Menza after NXT went off the air. So WWE just dropped a digital exclusive. And obviously I wanted you guys to know that. Allison Tuckwab dropping a $99.99 super chat. Wow. Huge. $100 super chat. Allison says, sorry to bring up the other wrestling company. On here, I was just trying to say 3-hour cool for AEW to see AEW wrestlers, see what those stars could do and pay attention to what they're doing. Quit worrying about what you guys are doing. I think right now, the best thing about wrestling is the fact that there's a lot of great options. And I know people see me as an AEW hater, despite the fact that all I do is literally buy AEW pay-per-views and watch AEW. But at the end of the day, for me, it's all about criticizing based on how I watch wrestling. And I'm not saying this to be like a dickhead or something, but If you guys watch wrestling a certain way and you guys like wrestling a certain way, it doesn't pertain to me. It doesn't impact the way I watch the show because that's how you enjoy it. That's how you watch it, right? So for me personally, I watch wrestling based on the things I like in wrestling. And for a long time, AEW would give that to me. For a very long time, AEW was doing it when WWE wasn't. And right now, AEW has been really good with like their women's division and getting that back on track, right? But I see consistent issues in AEW. Like they could do something really good for a month and then the next month completely drop the ball on what they were doing. And it seems like I'm being critical about it, but ultimately, what I want AEW to do is to focus on AEW, not to focus on these other companies, not to focus on what other companies are doing, but they should focus on their weaknesses and how to improve those weaknesses. And I think we just have to be realistic about the criticisms that we're offering, right? I think there is a lot of disingenuine takes on AEW. I do. And I think for AEW, like one of the big things, like a lot of people just won't admit when something is wrong. They don't. And I definitely, through my scope, my perspective, I see a lot of flaws in AEW. But because I see a lot of flaws, I also see a lot of great stuff about AEW. I might be the only human being out here advocating for AEW to go 3 hours. I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of people are not for that idea. So I think Tony Khan has an amazing roster. He might have assembled the greatest roster in pro wrestling. Like he has a tremendous roster. He has some good stuff on TV. But I want to see them focused, man. And to me, they're just not a focused company. They're not. They're just not. It is very evident if you watch TNA or WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, it doesn't matter. If you watch those shows, I think you can see that WWE and TNA are very focused on the mission that they have. And I think AEW is focused on select wrestlers, select storylines. And then everything else that's thrown on TV is basically thrown on TV with logical gaps. And it's hard, man. I'm not saying it's an easy job, but I also believe it's a fundamental issue. When I say a fundamental issue, it means that you have to change the groundwork for how you present your company. I don't believe AEW has any interest in changing that, and therefore it's going to always be an issue for me until they do. And guys, there's nothing wrong. If AEW doesn't want to make those changes, nothing wrong with that. I do not speak for the wrestling audience. I speak for myself, and that's it. Now, will I be going and spending thousands of dollars on these trips like I used to? Absolutely the fuck not. But that's okay, because if everybody else is happy with it, that's completely fine. That's completely fine. And I was doing that all the time. I'd go to AEW shows all the time and pay-per-views and buying the pay-per-views and stuff like that. Like I did that because I wanted them to succeed, and I enjoyed those events and I enjoyed those experiences. But that's all. Allison, thank you for the $100 super chat. Appreciate you. Guys, we have a few more minutes left. It's just a few minutes after 11 o'clock. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Overall, I was very, very happy with NXT tonight, and I can't reiterate enough how much I genuinely genuinely enjoyed seeing the women all over the show, man. It just seems organic. It just seems good. This partnership stuff is really unique, in my opinion. Just TNA getting a lot of love. Triple H even tweeting it out. Like, hey, if you're not familiar with TNA's Jordynne Grace, and they actually tag TNA, and it's cool, man. I'm also not an idiot. I'm not an idiot. I know WWE could very well be trying to pry Jordynne Grace out of TNA too. I talked about it a long time ago. They were definitely interested in signing her, and that was a long time ago. So imagine now how it is. Cedric says, do you know what's up with Malachi's contract with AEW? I don't. He is somebody I desperately want gone from that company. Unfortunately, Cedric, I have no idea, but I feel like I feel like Malachi and AEW is being wasted. I'm not happy with the way they've been booking him. That's obviously very evident. Another guy that could be a world champion, and I don't get it, man. I'll never get it. I'll never get it. But I don't know. Maybe it's because Malachi Black wasn't winning the G1 or he wasn't IWGP champion. I don't know. I don't know. I do want to mention though, Ethan Page kind of alluded to it in today's promo, but he was talking about how he could have collected a check for 2 more years and he chose not to. I don't know if Ethan Page got out of his contract. I don't know if he got out of his AEW contract, but it sounded like he kind of alluded to it. So it sounds like maybe Ethan Page got out early and that was something that he did with Tony Khan. I'm not sure. I can't speak to that. It just seems like something about that was hinted. But let's just kind of point this out. If you're Tony Khan, I think if you're Tony Khan, you should let Malachi, if Malachi wants to be out of his contract. I can't speak for Malachi Black. I don't know if he's unhappy or wants to be out or anything. I can't speak for that. But what I could say, I could say that if I were him, I would be trying to get out. You know? And it would be cool, man. It would be cool for him to be in WWE. I would put him up there, World Heavyweight Championship matches with Gunther and Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Like, he's up there for me. So that's kind of how I look at it. Adam Myron, $2 super chat. Would the system join the NXT TNA thing? Man, that's... If I had it my way, I would love to see them cross paths. The system is kind of like the bloodline for TNA, right? Like they're the faction in the group. I would love to see them in some capacity cross the door. I think Moose would be really fun to watch in NXT. There's a lot of things they can do. It would be really nice. I mean, you even got Gallus. You could do faction wars. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do. So would they join? I don't know. We'll see what happens with this partnership. I think it was very evident that Tatum Paxley is going to head to TNA. Brooks Jensen also, during the show, they didn't show it on TV, but during the show, he interrupted commentary. He's got this whole storyline going on. He posted a video talking about how he was thinking about leaving and making an impact. So maybe Brooks Jensen shows up in TNA for a little bit as he goes through the storyline with WWE. I'm not sure. But it's a very cool work that they're doing. Yeah, I would have the system join and let them do something. Thank you, Adam, for the super chat. Appreciate you. There was one more thing I saw. Israel Saya says that Malachi's main roster booking was awful too. Yeah, it was a different regime. Doesn't count. Different regime, dude. I don't think it's fair to compare somebody's booking under Vince to Triple H. It's just not the same thing. So if you want to compare it to NXT, because we all know damn well that Malachi Black's booking in NXT was tremendous. We all know that. We saw it with our own eyes. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it. Malachi was incredible in NXT. So, yeah, do I trust Malachi Black under Vince McMahon? Absolutely the fuck not. But do I trust him with Triple H? Well, so far, Vince McMahon and Tony Khan have not been able to book Malachi Black well. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of my perspective on that. A lot of love for Moose coming to NXT. I think it would be fun. You never know what they do. I'm expecting some big surprises for NXT Battleground. Ladies and gentlemen, I will absolutely be doing a prediction show this week. It will probably be during the day. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so I would say probably Thursday is when I'll do the live prediction show. if you guys are in the Discord, you have to have a webcam and a microphone. But if you have a webcam and microphone, I will invite you on the show. Maybe we'll do like a little bit of a roundtable and talk about NXT Battleground. Adam, I just saw your message about watching WCW. Who killed WCW? I did not, because obviously I'm streaming. But I will watch it a little bit later. So I will get to that. But yeah, guys, we'll leave it there. Coming up on an hour. The stream should be back full time relatively soon. I am looking for a co-host. I am looking for a co-host who wants to join the channel. I'll talk more about that in the future. But yeah, I appreciate you all coming through. Thank you everybody who dropped the super chat. Allison, RM, Justin, all of you guys. Adam, thank you all. I appreciate you guys. And if you guys clicked like on the stream, I definitely appreciate you as well. Should be fun, man. Get excited. There's a lot of cool things coming to the channel. It's going to happen at some point. I'm working on it. It's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but it's not a big deal because we'll get there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time.